Alright, welcome once again. We want to look at how to separate variable cost from a step fixed cost, or when there's a step fixed cost, how can we separate it using the high low method. And we say anytime there's a step fixed cost, that means we have a range that we are working for, and there's a cost that goes beyond that range that's being out, that give us the step fixed cost. So we can have a range of 0 to 5,000 units, and our fixed cost will be 7,000. And if the range increase more than the 5,000, then there will be additional fixed cost. So anytime that we are operating within this range, our fixed cost will just be 7,000. But when we go beyond this range, our fixed cost will also increase. So if this happens, how do we separate the fixed component from the variable component? So let's take this question. Question number 2. A company has identified that total fixed cost increased by 20% when activity level equates or exceeds 7,500 units. The variable cost per unit is constant over the range of activity. Yes, the variable cost is per unit is constant. The company has identified the following costs as 3 activity levels. So we had the introductory level, the intermediate, and the advanced. So at the introductory level, production unit is what? 11,000, and the associated cost is 276,000. Now they say that if we are producing within this range, if the production goes beyond this range, then our fixed cost will increase by 20%. So here our benchmark here is 7,500. So when we take this is more than 7,500. This is also more than 7,500, but this is below 7,500. So if we are operating here, the fixed cost that we get here, if you increase it by 20%, it should give you the fixed cost that should be here. Then if we are operating here, the fixed cost that you get here, if you reduce it by 20%, it should give you the fixed cost that we are going to get here. So here, these two are above the range because they are more than the activity level here is more than 7,500 units. So any fixed cost that we are going to get here, that fixed cost has the increment of the 20% already. So when we do that, we must what? Reverse it to get a fixed cost at this level. So assist the company on the following. The estimate of total cost for an output of 2,500. Yes, 2,500 is below the benchmark. Then another one, output of 8,500. 8,500 is above the benchmark. So when we are producing here, the fixed cost here will increase by 20%. Okay, so using high-low method, let's see how we are going to separate and get the fixed component and the variable component. In this case, because these two they fall within one category, we are going to use these two. In this case, when you're using the highest activity level and the lowest activity level, you are not going to use 5,000 because 5,000 is below the range, and these two are within one range. The two of them are above what? The 7,500 benchmark given to us. So we use this one first, then we reduce the fixed cost by the 20% to get the fixed cost that will be applicable here. If you get a question like this and you use the high method and you use 11,000 and the 5,000, I'm sorry, you are doing it wrong. So let's get the variable component. So the variable cost should be equal to the high activity level. Its cost is 276,000, and the lowest activity level is 240,000. Then the activity levels themselves, we have 11,000 minus 8,000. So my variable cost will be equal to is equal to 12 cedis per unit. So the variable cost per unit is 12 Ghana cedis. Then let's determine our fixed cost. So the total cost is equal to fixed cost plus 12 cedis times quantity. So using the introductory level, we have the total cost of 276,000, which is equal to the fixed cost, which we don't know, plus 12,000 times the activity level, which is 11,000. 276,000 is equal to fixed cost plus 132,000. So doing my change of subject, the fixed cost will be equal to 276,000 minus 132,000. My fixed cost is equal to 144,000. So anytime that we are operating above the range, what will be our cost function? The cost function will be the fixed cost is equal to 144,000 plus 12, which is the variable cost, times the quantity. So this function is for above range. This function here is applicable when we are producing above the 7,500 unit. So let's see how we can get the fixed cost that will be below the benchmark. Okay, so to get that to be below the average, let's do this assumption. So let's assume that when we are producing below the 7,500, we are producing at 100%. So what will be the fixed cost? This is the fixed cost that we don't know. And if we are producing above the 7,500, that means the fixed cost will increase by 20%. So if it increase by 20%, that will give me 120%. And the 120%, the fixed cost is what? 144,000. So this is the same as 1 is equal to S, and 1.2 is equal to 144,000. So if you cross multiply, we are going to get 1.2x is equal to 144,000. So we divide through by 1.2, and S will give us 120,000, where S is fixed cost for the activity level below 7,500. Yeah, so this is the fixed cost when we are producing below 7,500, and this is the fixed cost when we are producing above 7,500. So let's just increase the 120 by 20% and see whether we are going to get there. So this will be times 1.2, and what would that give us? 120 times 1.2, and that give me 144,000. thousand. So this is just a proof that we are correct. So let's derive the function for below average. So below the average, the cost function is total cost is equal to 120,000 plus 12 times Q. And if it is above average, so this is below, and if above, it should be what? Total cost is equal to 144,000 plus 12 Q. That is what? Above. So let's answer their question now. They say we should estimate the total cost of output of 2,500. 2,500 is below 7,500. So we are going to use this function. So the total cost should be equal to 120,000 plus 2 times 2,500. That will give me 120,000 plus this time this will give me 5,000. So my total cost will be 125,000. That's the requirement A. So requirement B. Requirement B, we have to estimate the cost when we are producing 8,500 units. 8,500 is above the average. So the total cost will be equal to 144,000 plus 12Q. That is A. This thing here is 12, not 2. Let me clean it and write it. Will be 125,000. That's the requirement A. So requirement B. Requirement B, we have to estimate the cost when we are producing 8,500 units. 8,500 is above the average. So the total cost will be equal to 144,000 plus 12Q. That is A. This thing here is 12, not 2. Let me clean it and write it well. So here is plus 12. So let me clean this one too, and clean this one also. So 12 times 2,500 will give me 30,000. So the total cost will be 150,000. So here the total cost will be equal to 144,000 plus 12 times 8,500. And that will be 144,000 plus 12 times 8,500. That will give me 102,000. So my total cost should be equal to 102,000 plus 144,000. That is 246,000 Ghana cedis. So when you have a step fixed cost, this is how you go about it. If you have any question, you put it in the comment section.